21 minutes after 6 o'clock on this glorious Thursday morning. That means it's now time for the headlines with the real G, the GK. Morning, TK.
Okay, what up?
Good morning.
I think TK sets herself every morning like, okay, what is he going to come up
I
this
know.
morning?
Every single morning. And he always comes up with something.
On the fly. I say when you're bright. You understand?
You know?
That's something like brightness.
I like this color combination.
Thank you
as
so
well.
much.
It's very springy.
And,
Yeah,
and
you know
your
what I mean?
top matches your nails.
It gives me a best bud.
It's in honor of best buds. Thank you again.
Yeah, you look
Best
like a
Buds,
best
for all
bud.
Yeah.
Z.
So I wear best buds.
We have a lot to go through, so we have a lot to go through, so we're going to jump into it.
All
Ready?
right.
Let's
All
do
right.
it. Let's do it. So let's see what's happening in our headlines. First up, no USAID. No problem.
Really?
Corporate Jamaica steps in and steps up. With funding from USAID no longer available due to a freeze by the Trump administration, Citizens Action for Free and Fair Elections, CAFE, is now turning to Jamaica's corporate sector to support its efforts in monitoring the upcoming general election. CAFE has highlighted its vital role in upholding the Representation of the People Act and engaging youth to combat voter apathy. In response, several local companies, including Stewart's Automotive, Supreme Ventures, Wisynco, and the JMMB Foundation, have been generous in their responses to the organization's call for assistance. CAFE plans a modest increase in volunteer recruitment this year with a projected budget of $10 to $20 million, largely allocated to volunteer stipends. Executive Director Baston emphasized CAFE's long-standing commitment to fair, efficient, and transparent election monitoring. So we love to see it. We love to hear about it.
Yeah.
Definitely. It's important. CAFE, excuse me, has played an important role since I think maybe the 97 election.
Yeah, like
it feels like the 97.
Yeah, around
in that period. And there was a time when you heard complaints routinely about, you know, voter intimidation, voter fraud, all kinds of things, without any independent method of verification, without any independent reporting. You know, election observers were a matter of course in other parts of the world. We didn't have them in Jamaica. Maybe if we did, that maybe people would have done things differently, knowing that there are
watchdogs, persons
exactly.
who are monitoring.
And so
CAFE changed that landscape.
Exactly. And so they're now a staple here, and it is not something within our democracy, within our democratic tradition, that we should be walking back. And so elections have consequences, as I always say.
Yeah.
And one of the consequences is that USAID and its funding support for organizations like CAFE is no more. And
so we have to fill the gap.
Exactly. Civil society plays a critical role in the democracy, and corporate Jamaica, as part of civil society, has stepped forward,
which is commendable.
stepped up, and provided filling that void, because ultimately nature abhors a vacuum.
That's right. Isn't that right?
Yeah, so thankfully
so we just have to say thank you and big up to all the, you know, corporations who stepped in and stepped up, like we said before. All right, so next up on Tuesday, a story broke that the Ministry of Health and Wellness has confirmed that certain water samples from National Water Commission systems have tested positive for E. coli. However, the ministry assured the public that there is no immediate cause for concern and has not issued any advisory for residents to boil their water at this time. Today on Sunrise, we have Dr. Jerome Walker, consultant medical microbiologist at the University Hospital of the West Indies and lecturer of medical microbiology at the University of the West Indies, here to discuss whether the public should be concerned or not. He will also give us his expertise on the bacteria. Good morning.
Good
morning. Good morning.
Welcome to have you.
Yeah, this is a very hot button issue, and I'm very happy that, you know, based on your training, your background, you're here to, you know, just elucidate and what's happening. So, first of all, what is E. coli bacteria? We've heard it time and again. Is it something dangerous?
Think about meat, but what is E. coli really?
What is E. coli and what are the effects?
Sure. So E. coli is a bacteria. It's found in the environment naturally. And it can even be found in our bodies, inside animals. But there are good ones and there are bad ones. And so E. coli is something that, you know, officials monitor to ensure that we're safe and protect us from infections.
So if it's found in the water, what does that mean, generally speaking?
So as part of normal routine measures, any water system, they were going to monitor for certain things, chemicals or bacteria, to ensure that the water is safe. So when you see the presence of bacteria in the water, it could suggest that the water is unsafe.
Is it that we monitor types of E. coli and levels of E. coli so that we are looking at a level that is problematic, or is it a type that is problematic, or both?
Okay, so it's generally a first, like a screening kind of process where they just look to see if there's bacteria, particularly these kinds of bacteria that could be potentially harmful. And they may do further studies to see what kind of species, like it's E. coli, right? They generally don't go any further to say whether it is one of the pathogenic ones, one of the ones that cause disease, or one of the ones that are harmless. But once you see E. coli, it does suggest that there could be a problem.
So then in how we treat, well, first of all, before we even go there, what we are hearing about now, how have we come to hear it? Is it that the systems are working and that we are doing the necessary tests, and so in routine testing we pick this up, or is it that there was some discovery or it was by happenstance that we came upon this new information that came to light this week?
Unfortunately, I'm not from the Ministry of Health, so I can't speak to their internal processes. I do know that this is a regular system that is done. However, I don't know as to what their protocols in reporting are. Yes.
Should we be concerned, Doc? And say, for example, should we be concerned, one, should persons be boiling their water? And how can we ascertain whether it is the dangerous one, or it's like, okay, Miss Kitty, well, it's in the water, it's fine, it's not at the level or the type that is, deleterious to your health, so it's fine. But, Doc, I need to know, how can we, how do we deal with it?
All right, so first of all, there are going to be international and local guidelines that will set the thresholds as to what will be a dangerous level to the public based on their public risk assessments. So it's difficult to answer because, again, they would have those protocols internally, right? And there are a number of factors that they have to take into consideration when saying whether or not the presence of the bacteria alone is something to be very concerned about. However, I don't see any harm in boiling the water, nevertheless, at this point in time, right? It is important that we always keep ourselves safe, right? And even though there may not be a boiled water order, it is important that you take into consideration that you're aware of this information, and there could actually be contamination in the water.
Let me ask, Doc, I know we talk about ingestion.
Yes.
And so we're going to boil the water.
Yes.
Is it detrimental to your skin? Say, for example, if you bathe, you're washing your hands, should we be concerned about that as well?
So generally speaking, no. Right? So there are many, many different kinds of E. coli. Some of the E. coli that causes gastrointestinal infections, so diarrheal disease. There are other ones that can cause other kinds of infections, like urinary tract infections, or other ones that cause even severe illness, like sepsis and death. However, because the mechanism largely is going to be through ingestion, that is going to be the disease process that is most likely to occur.
Okay.
I have a quick one. There are different processes in bottling water, right? You have spring water, you have purified water, you have all these various processes. Is there any way for this, bacteria to get into bottled water that you're thinking is safe and fine because I'm buying it, but it actually could be in there based on the process that was used?
Okay, so there are a number of ways that is potentially possible. Remember, water is coming from the environment initially, but all of these bottling plants, they generally have filtration and other purification methods during the whole process of the bottling. And they generally also have quality control measures to ensure that the water is safe.
How can persons tell, Doc, if they're infected at all? So something is happening, I don't feel too right. Are there any symptoms that we can say, okay, this is probably, I should check this out?
Okay, so, diarrheal illness is a very common thing that people have. However, people should be concerned if they're having persistent diarrhea and if they have any signs of dehydration, so if their eyes are dry, if their mouth is dry, if their skin is dry, right, if there's lethargy or tiredness, and of course, they should be seeking medical attention if any of those things, persistent diarrhea, and if you see blood in the stool.
Any vomiting? Is vomiting?
Vomiting is something that can also occur. So some of the symptoms would be vomiting, nausea, diarrhea, abdominal cramps, and there may be lethargy and some of those other associated symptoms.
I remember in science class, Dennis used to do the litmus test, right? Where you put the
Yeah.
thing. Now the litmus paper can buy. I just test it. And it
turns it
turns
blue.
Yeah, blue or, to test it down. You understand?
You
Because
see,
that's-
there are commercial kits that exist. You could probably get them online to help test some of the things in water, but the microbiology aspect, looking for E. coli specifically, a little challenging. Yeah.
Very well said.
All right, thank you
Thank
very
you
much.
so much, Doc. Well, I
So
hope that
helpful.
you got some,
Clarity.
clarity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have, and I thank you
Yeah.
so very much for sharing your expertise. And thank you, TK, for having your wonderful guest. Right? Beautiful. And that's going to be it for our headlines this morning. We're going to take a short break and digest all of that information that Doc just shared with us right here on Sunrise. It's CVM TV.